Hello, it's Swellink95 and I'm back with more Mario Maker. In this episode, we'll be working on a level idea that I've had since the day Mario Maker came out, which is based around amiibo costumes. Now, amiibo costumes have one attribute that they add to gameplay, which is the fact that they're a power-up that doesn't alter your character's size. Now, immediately, this gave me the idea of making a level based around running through cramped spaces. And luckily enough, the day I bought Mario Maker, I happened to find an Olimar amiibo. So right there and then I decided that I was eventually going to make a Pikmin level, or a Pikmin themed level. Now the problem that immediately arose from this is the fact that in the original Mario Brothers, which is the only game mode where amiibo costumes work, you can't pick up enemies. So I had to really think through how to make the level. So to make the whole throwing enemy mechanics, or just throwing characters mechanics, I was limited to using bombs and Koopa shells, which you can see right here. Um, it's this personal pet peeve I've had with Mario Maker, which is I hate levels where you have to throw around bombs, or it's mandatory to use bombs to break bricks in the NES Mario styles if you can't pick them up. So right here I made it so as easy as I possibly could have it, because I still needed a speed theme to the level. Also, all the enemies in this stage, with the exception of the bombs, are giant beasts, to again fit better with the theme of Pikmin. So, right here, I tried to capitalize on the idea of, just a core idea of running through tiny spaces by adding a giant mono here. And I realized, hey, wouldn't it be fun if you tried to, have to run around it and be tricky? So, that's essentially what I added. Now, the reason why I didn't make this level idea immediately was because I needed the wigglers. And I didn't like the idea of just hey, I'm gonna just farm all the unlocks immediately. I really kind of wanted to get introduced with the elements gradually so that I could experiment to try to mix them together. Right here, what I set up with the wiggler right there was just to check hey, if I make a one tile gap, will the big wiggler be able to squeeze through or not? Again, over here I introduce or make another section with the modules to have to run around them, and I realized they bumped against each other when they got around at all, so I was like, hey, would it be fun if I set up a gap for them to run down? And it kind of looks doofy and kind of cute, so it's something I really liked that I kind of came up with imagery just through looking at the level. Now, one thing I set out to do in this level, which was something I haven't done for any of my other levels, is to utilize the vertical element of the stage. This is kind of an easy way to lengthen the level as well, to make it longer. But it's a general criticism that I have against my early levels, which is the fact that they were moderately flat. Now, another thing I set up with this levels was that I kind of set up a mini narrative. The stage has basically a narrative. Where in this section, it's going to be the last sections where you encounter the Monomals, even though you only encounter them 3 times. So the thing is to have all these Monomals follow you, run off the cliff, and then you take them out over here. Well, I still will be able to introduce the Koopa again. Now, the problem I immediately struck while trying to introduce this is the fact that I basically removed half the stage elements. I broke myself in a corner in my level design, so then I was kind of stuck with just the wigglers and the bombs. And I already had it in my head how the level was going to end, which was, hey, you throw bombs at the wigglers, to mirror that huge gap earlier with all the wigglers in them. Now this time you actually fight them. So I kind of ended up ending my level prematurely because I broke myself in a corner. And I kind of sat there for a while after completing. It's is there really no way I can beat this any better? Is there absolutely no other way? Right here, I even planned making an extended climbing section, but then I realized, hey, I ran out of level. And then later I would run out of blocks, because in Mario Maker you have a limit of how many blocks you can place. Which is justified, but kind of weird. Now, one thing I kind of forgot to adjust in the level is that I didn't make it completely clear that enemies would come through the pipes. So I've seen through a lot of the replays of the level that people have died trying to jump into the pipes, thinking that you could use them to progress further in the level, and instead got hit in the head by a bomb, which is something I should have set up. Now right here, the reason I'm starting to remove blocks everywhere is because I hit the block limit. So now I had to be kind of clever with how I set things up. First off, first focus was to set up a ceiling over here so that it could look pleasant. So that it weren't hey, this cave is kind of strange with it kind of having a massive opening above. Is it even a cave? And it's generally, at this part I will also start kind of optimizing the level as well. Minor touch-ups like adding coins and all that, which is something I add for all my levels. Now, one thing that I kind of went with stylistically was to have it be like look like there were a lot of gaps under you throughout the entire level. Like there was potential for you to fall even further into the level somehow and fight even bigger monsters. So right here, just another like run through to check the optimization. There I realized that since that block was at the end of the level, I didn't even really need it there because there's literally only one more challenge after that, so why not just put the mushroom earlier on? So yeah, it's just a general optimization from over here. This, I mentioned in my earlier video, the previous one, the Bowser Cloud one, that the more popular levels in Mario Maker are the ones that are have visual gimmicks to them. Though I think that was poorly worded, have like a visual narrative to them, and are still fairly easy, because and this level is one of two proofs I have on that, because this is my most popular level. As of the day of recording this, it surpassed Thwomp's Fort as my most popular level. Or Thwomp's Fort has been played more, but they both have the same amount of stars, so it's obvious which one people like more. One thing I also added near the end of the level, which I was considering whether or not I should add more of, was that at the end, with the climbing vines, I started putting coin blocks at the top of basically the quote-unquote cave ceiling. I was considering adding that elsewhere, so kind of having more of like a Spelunker feel to it, because this stage is called Spelunker Olimar. But I kind of decided against it because I didn't want to slow down the pace too much. Now right here I set it up so that the Mario Mole will always be in front of you by the time you get to this opening, so that no player tries to like rush it and then end up dying because they can't see above the gap. And now for the actual play session of the level. One thing I noticed about Olimar that I didn't even know about until I started playtesting. Olimar makes a lot of weird noises. Yeah, but not only when he jumps, when you run and turn around with him while still carrying momentum. Now over here I set it up so that even if you fall, you can still bounce off the wigglers. I didn't want it to be like an instant death pit. Early on in the level you saw that I experimented with adding more blocks over here, but like adding one in the area below for you to break through. Since the bombs are coming above, it kind of just became more of an annoyance than an actual challenge. I also added like that elevation to the platform to the left to make sure that you wouldn't throw the bombs away down into the pit. And right here we have the first introduction of the Koopa, just to have it kind of introduced and take it together with the block breaking section. I experimented with adding 2 Mario Moles here, but only one was good enough. Adding 2 would kind of... it wouldn't even have made it any harder. It would have just made it like, oh, I died to that guy because I wasn't paying too much attention. I experimented a little bit with how many Mario Moles to have. I was originally pleased with only having 4 of them because they still bounce down, but I decided, hey, let's add as many as possible because this is the thematic end of them. This section was also kind of... I had to experiment with a lot to make sure that you actually could do this without running. Also this drop down here, I had to mix around a little bit with this as well to make sure that, because occasionally the Mario Moles would go into the gap where the Koopa is, which kind of made things a bit more annoying than it really should have been. And right here with the climbing up section past the god, I forgot the name, Wiggler. I wanted him to originally run across the pit, but I was like, okay, it's good enough to kind of just have him, and there you kind of like have him presented. And right here comes the kind of abrupt ending. I had a tiny bit more space that I could make to the level, but I don't even think I had really had enough blocks to make it fully worth it. But yeah, that concludes the end of the level, because it wasn't really necessary to kill all of them, you just had to kill enough of them to get past, and then you beat the level. But yeah, this is one of my personal favorites. I still think Thwomp's Fort is better. Now in the next video, we'll be trying to make a level that's a World 1-1 difficulty. And yes, like my other levels, it's gonna be flat. So see you guys then.